Unborn qualify or don't qualify, when all the arguments are done with whether mom and dad and grandma and granddaddy and unborn baby qualify for our compassion, the decisive question remains unaddressed. What kind of person am I? Does compassion rise in my heart for both mommy and daddy and grandmama and granddaddy and this unborn baby? All of them. All of them. Or do I just get another Coke and change the channel? Look at verses 34 and 35. Isn't it incredible? I think Jesus really enjoyed these sentences. I think he, parables, he's just making these up. He can say anything he wants in these stories, right? He's just making them up. And look at the particulars he puts on this man's love, this man's compassion. Really dirty hands. This guy's got blood all over his shirt. Inconvenience. $300 out of his pocket. Let's read this. He went to him and bound up his wounds. So he moved. Unlike the priest in Nineveh. He moved, he bound up his wounds. That's a mess. He was probably gross. Pouring oil and wine, costly. Then he set him on his own animal. So instead of riding, he walks. And this guy, he doesn't even know him, is riding. He brought him to an inn. This story could have stopped anywhere, and this guy would be a hero. He took him to an inn and took care of him. So he stayed a while. And the next day, he took out 2 denarii. A little footnote, a denarius, a day's wage. I did a little computation on like $40,000 a year. About $150 a day. So $300. $300 on the table at the motel. Take care of him. I'll try to get back. Gave the innkeeper saying, take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I'll repay you when I come back. That's amazing. Jesus went over the top on that, right? Does anybody live like that? Oh, that we would be a neighbor and stop arguing whether or not this or that person is one, including the unborn. So my prayer for me mainly, and for us as a church and for the whole Christian movement, is that we would be like this. A heart of compassion, hands-on, messy, sacrificial, time-consuming, stressful. If he dies, we're going to get sued. Now back to the clinics, and I close. Midwest Health Center for Women, Meadowbrook Women's Clinic, Robbinsdale Clinic, Mildred Hansen, Planned Parenthood, doing roughly 13,000 abortions a year within stone's throw of this church, both campuses. Have real owners, real administrators, real employees, and what they need most is to be saved by the gospel of Jesus Christ. They need Christ. So I want to ask you this, and I want to do more with this. I don't know how or what yet, but I'm going to do more with this, with you and perhaps beyond you. What might God be pleased to do if 4,000 of you in these 6 services this weekend, what might God be pleased to do if 4,000 of you, concerned Christians, committed yourselves with me to pray daily that Christ would manifest His saving grace in those places? What divine encounters of compassionate involvement might happen with you and others. I say as clearly as I can, Bethlehem, let there be no violence from our side. There's enough violence inside those buildings. Let there be no violence from our side. The gospel of peace is the power of God unto salvation for everyone who believes. The Jew first, also to the Greek, also to abortion clinic owners, administrators, nurses, doctors, assistants, receptionists. If the owners, I ask you, if the owners and administrators and employees of these 5 clinics met the living Christ in answer to your prayer and perhaps your witness, and were saved, and their sins were forgiven, and they became glorious trophies of grace, would we not love to have them with us in heaven? Would we not? And they became glorious trophies of grace. Would abortion be offered in Minnesota any longer? Or would they have to go to Denver? It's interesting when you type in abortion in Minneapolis into Google, and you get a name, abortions in Minneapolis, and you hit it, it gives you all of these except Planned Parenthood, and one in Bismarck and one in Denver for abortions in Minneapolis. So abortions wouldn't stop, but they might not be done here anymore if they all got saved. Our job as a church is not mainly political. I'm going to march tomorrow. That's a piece of who I am. I'm a citizen on planet Earth in a country that's responsible in a democratic process to make laws. But that's not my main job. My main job is to preach the gospel and equip you to preach the gospel, and it's the gospel that would bring this down. And so I just wonder if we could commit to praying daily that would happen, that they'd get saved, that the owners, administrators, and employees of those 5 clinics would get saved by faith in Jesus Christ, and then stop doing what they're doing and begin to become part of a movement. There is more that you can do than pray, but this much I ask you to do. Would you pray? And perhaps I'll prepare for us a little card that we can put in our Bibles. I'll put all the names on it and help us remember in a week or so. Try to provide you with that. Pray regularly that the owners, the administrators, and the employees of Midwest Health Center for Women, Meadowbrook Women's Clinic, Robbinsdale Clinic, Mildred Hansen, and Planned Parenthood would be saved. And then, I don't know what more, but I believe that while you're praying, this happens to me a lot, while I'm praying about something like that, the rumblings start happening in my heart. There is something more you could do. Something by way of education, something by way of mobilizing children, something by way of helping teenagers. I know Corrine and Brian felt there's something more we can do, and you're going to look at it in just a minute out there in the main hall. There's more we can do.